Spark something uncommon this holiday with just the right gift from Uncommon Goods. The busy holiday season is here, and Uncommon Goods makes it less stressful with incredible hand-picked gifts for everyone on your list, all in one spot. Gifts to spark joy, wonder, delight, and that's exactly what I wanted feeling. Hey, y'all, I ordered a super cool piece. It's a candle with a sculpture of LSU's Tiger Stadium on top of it. And each officially licensed laser-cut wooden replica features up to 4 layers of detail, creating a bird's eye view of a specific football field, seating section, and more. And every label includes your stadium's name, the team's logo, and school location. And it has a coconut, soy, vegan wax infused with sandalwood smell that creates tailgates and touchdown scent profile, reminiscent of game day. It's invigorating like fresh cut grass and nostalgic like smoke from a pre-game grill, and calming like the crisp autumn air of a new semester on campus. Y'all, I love it. I have it at the base of my TV, and I'm ready to watch the Tigers play on Saturday night, right? Uncommon Goods. Look, when you shop at Uncommon Goods, you're supporting artists and small independent businesses. And many of their handcrafted products are made in small batches. So shop now before they sell out this holiday season. Uncommon Goods looks for products that are high quality, unique, and often handmade or made in the U.S. They have the most meaningful, out of the ordinary gifts anywhere. They even have gifts you can personalize. From holiday hosts and hostess gift to the coolest finds for kids, to hits for everyone from the book lovers to diehard sports fans. Uncommon Goods has something for everyone, not the same old selections you can just find anywhere. And with every purchase you make at Uncommon Goods, they give $1 to a nonprofit partner of your choice. They've donated more than $3 million to date. So to get 15% off your next gift, go to uncommongoods.com/RLRC. That's uncommongoods.com/RLRC for 15% off. Don't miss out on this limited time offer. Uncommon Goods, we're all out of the ordinary. Hey ladies, are you feeling overwhelmed by hormonal changes? Well, you're definitely not alone. There are more than 1,000 hormone disruptors living in our environment right now. It's in your food, your water, the air you breathe, the clothes you wear, your skincare products. They all mess with your hormones. Then there's the natural hormone changes your body goes through, premenopause, menopause. And while it's a natural process, it doesn't mean you have to suffer through it. The good news is you don't have to suffer through it anymore, because now you have Hormone Harmony, a formula made only with herbal ingredients that are shown to reduce hormonal symptoms in women of all ages. Hormone Harmony is not just a hormone supporting supplement. It's become a phenomenon. Women can't stop talking about it on social media. A bottle of Hormone Harmony is sold every 24 seconds. And the biggest benefit? Well, my wife says it makes her feel like her own self again. And that's what women mention over and over in the reviews. And there are over 30,000 reviews for Hormone Harmony. And for a limited time, you can get 15% off your entire first order at happymammoth.com. Just use code RLRC at checkout. That's happymammoth.com and use code RLRC for 15% off today. That's happymammoth.com and use code RLRC.
In Las Vegas, an arrest is made after 27 years in the murder of Tupac Shakur. These stories and more coming at you today, Wednesday, October 4th on Real Life, Real Crime Daily, and I'm Jim Chapman.
And I'm Woody Overton.
And I'm Mike Agovino. It doesn't feel like Wednesday, does it?
Wednesday hump day.
Yeah, feels like it to me.
I don't know. It feels like...
Maybe that's because you guys are getting humped and
shit.
Somebody else might not be. That could be. That could play into it a little bit. I have a quickie correction, retraction-ish thing.
All right.
My cute little, let me tell you something, Linda, girl from last episode. I said that post was a year and a half or so old. I was off by a few years. That post was actually from 2015, and it has been resurrected several times. So that young girl who was 5 at the time it was done in 2015 is, quick math, anybody, is 13 years old today. And her name is Jayla Cummings. And Jayla's got her own YouTube channel, and she's cleaned up her act a little bit. She's not speaking disrespectfully to her elders.
I didn't know which story you're talking about. You're talking about the little girl in the classroom.
Let me tell you something, Lynn.
Let me tell you something,
And seems like she's doing quite well. So
that's good.
Good on you, Jayla. Sorry, I was about 7 years off in how old you are, but
nothing wrong with that.
good to know you're doing well.
Let me say, I got to do this because this is the first time we've recorded since it happened. But we got to give a shout out to all the lifers for several reasons. First of all, we won for Bloody Angola, Best History Podcast. So thank you so much for that. And then, Listener Influence.
Listener Influencer of the Year.
Listener Influence of the Year. We won that. So this huge thank you. That's the second time I won that. And then
Best Male Host.
That's the third year in a row I won that. And so thank you, lifers. And for the first time ever, they made the finals for the Big Enchilada, which is the Adam Curry's People's Choice Podcast of the Year Award. And we won that, Real Life, Real Crime. So
the biggest actually award in that show, and named after the Podfather himself, Adam Curry, former MTV VJ, who they credit with starting the first podcast.
Yeah. And anyway, so it was huge blessing. And thank y'all for validating what we do. Over 8.5 million. What was the number?
8.3 million votes for the finals and the finalist, and then 22,500 of those were sent emails to vote for the winner, and just about all responded. As a matter of fact, they had over 21,000 votes for the Adam Curry Award.
Right,
so that tells you,
it was
people came out in droves.
Right. And I always said life was the best fans in the world, and I love and appreciate each and every one of you. Thank you so much. And let's get into some crime time.
Well, and we're going to bring you to Washington. A Washington man was convicted this week on kidnapping and sexual assault charges after he held a woman captive in his garage for weeks. Henry Hauser, a 56-year-old repeat sex offender, could face life in prison. The victim, who was homeless at the time of the crime, told police Hauser offered her a place to stay in his garage. She said after going to the defendant's garage, they hung out for a period of time, and at some point she became uncomfortable and wanted to leave. The defendant then grabbed her and restrained her by binding her to a truck with a chain.
Crazy.
The victim told police that Hauser chained her ankle to his truck and drugged her for more than 2 weeks, causing memory issues. She said the defendant would make statements to her like he was acting out a fantasy. He would ask her if she wanted to be hurt. He would say he was going to kill her slowly, but other times would say he wanted to keep her. Hauser repeatedly sexually assaulted the victim in his garage for several weeks, and she escaped when he left a key in her proximity, and she was able to break free from Hauser's residence and seek help. Police arrested Hauser at a Walmart after a Walmart loss prevention officer tracked the suspect down in surveillance video footage after he used the victim's food stamps to purchase groceries.
There you go.
Hauser was a level 3 sex offender at the time of his arrest, and he had cut off his ankle monitor. In 2014, he was actually convicted of kidnapping a 16-year-old girl at knife point, taking her back to his residence where he gave her methamphetamine and sexually assaulted her.
How the hell do you get out in
2016 that happened?
In 9 years, and you got an ankle bracelet on, and you're doing it again?
Cut it off. Yeah, and then
lock his ass up forever.
Well, this lady would be probably dead if not for him leaving that key in proximity of her and her being able to escape. And shout out to the Walmart loss prevention guy.
Getting it done.
Yeah, who was paying attention, man. Great job.
Crazy story. And you think evil doesn't live, people. I mean, could have been anybody. It's crazy.
Yep.
Well, tell you about another just sad story. And unfortunately, this happens all the time. My father-in-law is now deceased. was a retired section chief for all of South Texas for the Border Patrol. And he used to tell me about cases like this where they find all this people dead. But a Texas man pleaded guilty to his role in the human smuggling and trafficking operation that resulted in the deaths of 53 migrants who were trapped inside a sweltering tractor trailer in San Antonio, Texas last year. Christine Martinez, 29, of Palestine, Texas, pled guilty to multiple charges related to the crime. And according to the DA's office, Martinez pled guilty to 1 count of conspiracy to transport illegal aliens resulting in death, 1 count of conspiracy to transport aliens resulting in seriously bodily injury and placing lives in jeopardy. Martinez, scheduled to be sentenced on January 4th of 2024, faces a maximum penalty of life in prison. He should get that. He should get the death penalty. But according to the release, Martinez and 47-year-old co-defendant Homero Zamorano Jr., the driver of the tractor trailer, were initially charged on July 20th, 2022, and in total 4 men were indicted by a federal grand jury. At the time of the horrific tragedy, the San Antonio Police Department held a live press conference, and Chief William McManus said the police received the first call at 5:50 p.m. local time from an employee working at the nearby building who heard a cry for help and came out to investigate. When approaching the truck, he saw the partially open door and found 46 dead migrants inside. After a team of fire trucks, police and emergency personnel responded to the scene, 16 people, 12 adults and 4 children were rushed to hospitals before the death toll ultimately rose to 53. The patients that we saw were hot to the touch, Chief Hood said of the victims during the press conference. They were suffering from exhaustion, no signs of water in the vehicle, and adding that there was no working air conditioning unit. We're not supposed to open up a truck and see stacks of bodies in there, he continued. None of us come to work imagining that. And it happens all the time. They're just, making that money, coyotes, for smuggling them over. And
that number of people, like sardines in an 18, 50, kids.
In San Antonio and in the heat. I mean, they've done studies like they did on Courtney Coco's body. She was in the trunk for 2 days, and it was in October this time. Actually, it was right now. It was this week that it happened. But the temperature was only in the 80s. But GM has done the studies on how hot the trunks get, and it's like 160, 170 degrees. Can you imagine what it is in Texas when in the back of a semi with nothing? 53 people dead.
Yeah, that's a tin can. Basically.
Yeah, right.
And they're watching people around them die, and they can't. And
I don't even know what you're thinking. It's just, it truly is horrifying. So
brutal. Well, it was 27 years ago. I mean, just does not seem possible that it was 27 years ago.
I can't believe it's possible.
That Tupac was murdered, but it was 27 years ago.
I remember it vividly.
And since then, there have been, I don't know how many books, movies, docuseries, how many different theories, but police are convinced that this time they have got the real killer. So let's hear their story. A Clark County grand jury voted this week to indict 60-year-old Dwayne Keefe D. Davis for the murder of rap icon Tupac Shakur, which, as I said, occurred 27 years ago. Law enforcement officials announced this at a press conference that was held on Friday. The announcement comes after Las Vegas Metro Police executed a search warrant at Davis's home back in July and seized multiple tablets and computers, cell phone, hard drives, photos, and more. The Clark County Sheriff, Kevin McMahill, said that Davis was arrested on Friday morning and that the investigation was, quote, far from over, and that remarks that Davis made back in 2018 reinvigorated the investigation. We'll maybe talk a little bit about those remarks, but he came on as a guest on a couple of different podcasts and made some pretty bold statements, and those are still out there on YouTube for you to be able to watch and listen to. So that is what they're referring to. Metro Lieutenant Jason Johansson said that sheer persistence by detectives in the case ultimately paid off and is what led to Davis's arrest. Prior to September 7, 1996, as we all know, Tupac was an artist who had signed with Death Row Records, and that Death Row Records and its CEO, Marion Suge Knight, were closely affiliated with the Mob Piru, the criminal street gang in the Compton area of L.A., and that they had an ongoing feud with the South Side Compton Crips, another gang from Compton. Davis, a.k.a. Keefe D, was the leader and shot caller of the Compton Crips. And both of these gangs operated out of Southern California, Compton area, as I said. Shakur was shot 4 times on September 7th, 1996 in Vegas after attending the Mike Tyson fight at the MGM. He ended up dying in the hospital 6 days later. He actually clung to life for 6 days, and they thought at points that he had a chance. Members of the Compton Crips, which included Keefe D, along with his nephew, Orlando Babyface Anderson, also attended the Tyson fight that night. As they were leaving the fight, members of Death Row Records spotted Babyface near an elevator bank inside the MGM and approached him and began to kick and punch him. So they roughed him up. Johansson showed security video of that fight at the elevator, which clearly showed Tupac and other members of Death Row attacking Babyface. Then Johansson said, this is all at this press conference, quote, little did anyone know that this incident right here would ultimately lead to the retaliatory shooting and death of Tupac Shakur. I'm going to add, because they didn't do a lot of allegedlys at this press conference. I'm going to add a big allegedly to that one because we haven't seen any evidence yet. And let's face it, we've been hearing stories for 27 years. Following the incident, Tupac and Suge both left the MGM to head to a party at a local nightclub. At the same time, word spread through the Crips that Babyface had been beaten up by Death Row guys. That's when, and again, I'll add allegedly, Keefe D began to devise a plan to retaliate against Suge and Tupac. Keefe obtained a gun and got into a white Cadillac along with Babyface and 2 guys named Terrence Brown and DeAndre Smith. By the way, all 3 of those guys are dead. And so today, Keefe D is the only remaining person who was in that white Cadillac. So we don't exactly have a lot of people to corroborate some of this. So at some point in time, as they're in that Cadillac, Keefe handed the gun to the guys in the back seat of the Caddy, which would have been Babyface and one of the other guys, either Brown or Smith. Most stories out there claim that it was Babyface that pulled the trigger because it was retaliation for him being beat up. And so it was the gun was put in his hand to do the retaliation. The 4 men located the black BMW that Suge and Tupac were driving and pulled up alongside that vehicle and started shooting. Johansson said that detectives knew most of this information within the first few months of their investigation, but they never had the necessary evidence needed to bring the case forward and present criminal charges. Again, I believe he's referring to these various statements made in podcasts and YouTube shows by Keefe since 2018. In 2018, the case was reinvigorated as additional evidence came to light related to this homicide. They don't get specific about it, but again, I believe that's what it was. Some of you may know that I have long produced an entertainment news podcast called Fame is a Bitch with my longtime friend AJ Benza, who used to host the Mysteries and Scandal series on E! Entertainment. AJ was close friends with Tupac and knew him very, very well. In fact, one night they lied down on the FDR Drive at 3 o'clock in the morning in a suicide pact they had taken before AJ chickened out, or AJ was the first to run off the highway. But and so he's been involved in looking into Tupac's case for years, as you might imagine. And on Monday's show, Monday's Fame is a Bitch podcast show, AJ shared that he does not believe Tupac was the target that night in Vegas. He believes Suge Knight was the target and that the hit had nothing to do with roughing up Babyface Anderson after the Tyson fight. At the time, Suge and his wife were going through a divorce. AJ's theory is that Suge's then wife, Sharitha, was having an affair with Death Row's head of security, Reggie Wright Jr. Since they later married, I think we can safely say that there's plausibility to that theory. Sharitha and Reggie, according to AJ, were making a move in advance of their divorce to try and take control of Death Row. And I know nothing, next to nothing about this stuff. So I'll just say if you're super interested in that theory, you can listen to Monday's Fame as a Bitch. We'll see what evidence beyond these podcast interviews comes out about Keefe D here, but there's a lot of skepticism out there as to whether they actually really do have the killer in hand now.
It must have something. Go ahead.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I was just going to say that it must have something concrete to bring it forward, and not to just an arrest, to bring it forward to think that they are going to get 12 jurors to find him guilty.
Well, they may very well get that because he basically he's taking credit,
Right.
in these, but in that world, with the three other people in the car dead, Tupac dead, and everything. I mean, was it to his advantage to take credit for it, and versus whether he actually did it?
Well, I'll say this: I've seen every single interview that Keefe D did, and I've been following this case also for probably 27 years. And it's my opinion that Orlando Anderson definitely killed Tupac Shakur. People may wonder, well, how is Keefe D getting charged now for murder when in the podcast that he discussed handing the gun to Orlando Anderson? And it's important to note that at that point that this case was fresh, and there was a Los Angeles investigator that was investigating this really hard. As a matter of fact, he wrote a book about it.
I read it.
Very sharp investigator, and he actually did what they call a proffer agreement with Keefe D. And that proffer agreement is not, and this is where I think Keefe D misunderstood. It's not a total absolving of anything that you did. It is basically something where you have an agreement with the LAPD at this point that anything you tell them cannot be held against you, but you cannot then go on a podcast and discuss all of these things you did to facilitate the murder of Tupac. One of the interesting things at the press conference that the police officer said was he used an example, and he said, in Las Vegas, if you rob a bank and you have a getaway driver and that getaway driver is in the parking lot, that getaway driver is just as guilty as the guy who held the gun in the bank of robbery. Same thing with murder. So he doesn't necessarily have to pull the trigger to be convicted of the murder of Tupac Shakur. And that is where all of this is coming through. That proffer agreement did not apply to him going on podcast and discussing it. So
well, also,
his own mouth sunk him.
Los Angeles, does it apply in Nevada?
No, and
right,
like that's
right,
exactly right. And then, but yeah, you know what the crazy thing is, Tupac, he was a masterful artist and all that stuff, but originally he wasn't a gangster. He wasn't an OG gangster. Shit, he got affiliated with him after he became famous. Shit, he was he studied ballerina and all this stuff, and went to what's that school in New York? Juilliard. He went to Juilliard.
He was an actor as well.
Yeah, and he did all that, and he got sucked up in.
Well, you look at a lot of these guys who become the leaders of these gangs, like Keefe D. Went to college.
Right.
Businessman.
His father was a cop.
Yeah, right.
He worked at Linwood PD for a period of time, and actually rose up the ranks there. I mean, there's these are not just crazy, out of control, unintelligent people. I mean, they're maybe illegal businesses that many of them have built, but they built big.
Yeah,
illegal
it's
business.
hard to catch a smart criminal, right?
Right, and
I wonder what Suge's thinking about that, sitting in prison.
Yeah, he'll be there for the rest of his life, likely. So, we'll keep you posted on Tupac.
Interesting.
Minneapolis, we're going to bring you to, and a Minneapolis police officer is being investigated by her department after it was learned that she had an OnlyFans account where she was posting explicit photos and videos. The Minneapolis Police Department launched an internal investigation into the 4th Precinct officer who was not identified after a citizen was pulled over by the officer who actually recognized her from her side job. Yes. The officer's OnlyFans page is not publicly available and only accessible to her paid subscribers. While police conducted their internal probe, the mayor's office said it might not be a problem for them. If all we're talking about is naked pictures behind a paywall, the mayor has no issue. However, the chief will determine if there's any policy violations. This from the spokesperson for the Minneapolis mayor, Jacob Fry. The officer's account bio reads, 35-year-old MILF, free-spirited, overly optimistic, and creator of sexy content to please others. The account does not include any references to her being a police officer. The department confirmed an investigation into the account was initiated by police, but city officials are torn whether the existence of an account warrants disciplinary action. We take all allegations of policy violations seriously, and the chief has ordered an investigation. The Minneapolis PD is now tasked with seeing if the officer's OnlyFans account violates department policy, which says their officers are required not to exhibit any conduct that could compromise their efforts to enforce the law or discredit their agency.
This is interesting because, like Louisiana State Police, it doesn't matter if you have a side job, cutting grass or doing polygraphs, whatever, you actually have to fill out forms and to submit it to them to state what you're doing so they can make sure you're not doing anything that would bring shame on them or whatever, I guess. And so I don't know what their policy is on that. Pretty much, I think that's like a civil service deal. Is OnlyFans an app or is it a website?
It's like a website, from what I understand.
I don't know.
From what I
hear more and more about it.
I'll have to look up and see.
I don't think
exactly.
it's all sexual or whatever. They got people.
I'm tempted to go through Woody's apps right now.
I think it's pretty. Well, and here's the.
That's why I was asking, because I want to know if it's an app or a website. I was going to look it up.
You just go to the App Store and see.
Here's the discussion here, and in my mind, and that is, should she be disciplined? This is a fine line. I understand that there might be some people out there might have a moral issue with this, but some people
I think
may
the
not.
issue is this. Let's say I was on OnlyFans doing sex stuff and somebody was subscribing to me and I pull them over and I'm in uniform patrol and they might be like, ooh, I'm going to rat you out. Or I don't know if you can screenshot or take pictures of it. They can say,
yeah, that's a good point.
You could be
using it against
putting yourself in a compromised situation.
It's actually a good point.
So there is not an app in here. There's a bunch of people that are buying that search term. So Ashley Madison pops up first. Number one for affairs and NSA hookups. What's an NSA?
No strings attached.
Oh, I didn't know that. I know I did a bunch of polygraphs when Ashley Madison got busted. A lot of spouses were in trouble. You remember that?
Yeah.
All right. Well, I'm telling you, take you to this next story, and I can definitely relate to this. For 10 years, Madison McGee believed her father died from a heart attack when she was 6 years old. But as a teen, she learned the shocking truth. He was murdered, and the killer was never caught. On July 11, 2002, John Cornelius, or J.C. McGee, was fatally shot in the head in the doorway of his home in Belmont County, Ohio. Madison, just 6 at the time, left Ohio with her mom and was raised in West Virginia. Now, Madison, 28, has decided to take the case into her own hands and search for the killer. In May of this year, she launched a podcast, Ice Cold Case, to dive deeper into the facts of the case with hopes of solving her father's murder. This is a story of what happened to J.C. McGee on July 11, 2002, according to police records, some of which may not be entirely accurate nor adequate. The first episode states, 20 years later, the search for answers began. After J.C.'s death, police came to the conclusion that his murder stemmed from a home invasion gone wrong, but Madison isn't so sure that that's the truth. She became even more skeptical after learning her father had been a drug dealer turned informant. As an informant, he helped police arrest a number of people, including one of his nephews, who was then sentenced to life in prison, according to Madison. I think it was definitely a situation where it was mutually beneficial for a lot of parties if my dad was out of the picture, for either fear or of getting ratted out again or just this revenge plot, says Madison, who adds, I think a lot of people had a stake in this game for different reasons. Madison's 9-episode podcast pours over the evidence of the case that includes interviews with family members and those who knew her father. It's been this really interesting learning experience about myself, but also who my family is, people that I didn't grow up around because I was raised with my mom, she says. Through her efforts, Madison was able to reconnect with her sister, Alyssa, and learn what Alyssa remembered from the day that her father was killed. When my dad died, I never saw my sister again, Madison says. After the funeral, I never saw my sister in person until I met up with her last year to interview her for the podcast. However, this is the part I can relate to. However, not all of Madison's family members were willing to talk about her father's death. One relative wrote a threatening message on Facebook saying, "You should stop or I'll make you stop." But that hasn't deterred Madison from releasing her podcast, narrowing down suspects, and continuing her quest for justice. I want this to get solved, says Madison. I'm willing to take it as far as I need to. I mean, I'm relating that to all the threats and shit in Courtney Coco's case and acts of violence that I had against me. Madison, you should have called me. I could have solved it for you.
She should be careful.
Yeah, you don't ever know who you're messing with. And
Well,
Madison
sounds
Madison,
like she has a clue who she's messing with right now.
Madison, it's not the ones that threaten you have to worry about. It's the ones that don't threaten you. And that's from me, I've solved numerous cold cases now on the podcast. Real Life, Real Crime original, which drops on Tuesdays. And trying to solve one now, another one.
Well, good luck to Madison. Hopefully that will end well. Well, speaking of things that end well, especially when they so seldom do in cases like this. Yeah. So on Sunday, this little girl in upstate New York, 9-year-old girl, was up at a state park with multiple families and friends riding a bike around a circle in the park. And the friends she was riding with were tired and didn't want it to be done. And she said, well, I'll just go one more lap. Mm-hmm. And somewhere along the line in that one more lap, she was taken. Mm. And they knew she was taken because they found her bike. And over the course of late Sunday through most of the day Monday, this was a story at the top of the headlines across the country. And most of us, I'm sure, were feeling like it was going to end badly, right, like they so often do. And good news, this one did not end badly. A man has been arrested over the abduction of a 9-year-old girl who vanished from her family holiday while riding a bike in an upstate New York park. Charlotte Sena, who was 9, was found alive and safe on Monday, which is 2 days after she vanished from Morro.
Hey, y'all. Changing my wardrobe from summer to fall, it's never easy. Luckily, Quince offers timeless and high-quality items I adore, ensuring my wardrobe stays fresh and I don't blow my budget. And there's nothing easier than going to Quince and choosing these high-quality items, like cashmere sweaters from $50, pants for every occasion, washable silk tops, and so much more. The best part? All Quince items are priced 50 to 80% less than similar brands. By partnering directly with top factories, Quince cuts out the cost of the middleman and passes the savings on to us. And Quince only works with factories that use safe, ethical, and responsible manufacturing practices and premium fabrics and finishes, and I love that. I got the stainless steel Link Apple Watch band
for $59.90. It's heavy duty. It's awesome. And it's like $100 less than I could find anywhere else. And I also got a 100% organic cotton fisherman quarter zip up sweater. The color is alabaster. Man, I can't wait to wear that this fall. And Cindy got the Mongolian cashmere boat neck sweater in heather gray. And I'm telling you, these are classic pieces at a fraction of the price. Make switching seasons a breeze with Quince's high-quality closet essentials. Go to quince.com/RLRC for free shipping on your order and 365-day returns. That's QUINCE.com/RLRC to get free shipping and 365-day returns. Quince.com/RLRC. You'll thank me later.
Hey, y'all, let me tell you about Gobble. All Gobble meal kits are pre-prepped. That means less work for you and less waste in your kitchen. Their meal kits include everything you need so you can save time at the store or just skip that trip entirely. I got the box in and I had 3 different meals. I had a Kung Pao chicken, crispy fish tacos, and a beef bourguignon, however you say it. But let me tell you about the classic beef bourguignon. Look, it came with beef pot roast and a beef broth concentrate, red wine demi-glaze, cremini mushrooms, cipollone onions, mashed potatoes, baby carrots, and rosemary thyme butter. It was so easy to make. Literally like 15 minutes it took Cindy. And let me tell you something. And all the dishes were fire, but this thing was like a taste explosion in my mouth. It's just unreal. We've got to spend more time together and more time doing the things we love because everything came in this one single box right to my door. So see what a difference Gobble will make for your household. Right now, they're offering my listeners a fantastic limited time deal. You get $120 off across 4 boxes plus free shipping and free cookies. And let me tell you, those cookies, I ate one that was sin baked and it was delicious. Go to gobble.com/real life. That's GOBBLE.com/real life for $120 off your first 4 boxes. This offer is not available on the home site, so don't miss out. This is genius. It's taste explosions in your mouth like you never had.
Lake State Park in upstate New York. According to multiple reports, Craig Ross Jr., age 46, is the suspect, and he is in custody. He lives in Milton, New York, which is in the area and only about 10 miles from where Charlotte lived. The man who was arrested over the abduction of the 9-year-old girl who vanished from her family holiday while riding a bike. Charlotte was pulled into a vehicle against her will or dragged into the woods, police said, just after 7 p.m. Charlotte had been found safe in good health. New York State police were previously confident Charlotte was abducted from the park. She was last seen wearing a tie-dye Pokemon shirt, dark blue pants, black Crocs, a gray bike helmet on Saturday evening. And the Amber Alert was issued on Sunday morning after she was last seen at 6:15 p.m. on Saturday. So New York State Police activated the Amber Alert at 9:35 a.m. on Sunday. An additional search team was deployed that morning. Over 100 people searched tirelessly, including forest rangers and 75 law enforcement personnel. The park was closed. The law enforcement established a command post there. Ultimately, they got the lead on this guy because he left his fingerprints on the bike that they found, and they were able to trace to his place. He also had notified the family. He had contacted the family and was seeking a ransom. So while they thought this might have been an abduction, child trafficking type of thing, it turned out, even though this guy was a past child offender, he was looking for money and looking for a ransom and trying to hold the family up for money. And that's how they were able to track him down between DNA, fingerprints, et cetera, left on the bike and communication. So
I was going to say, he must have been in the system if they had it. And then being a past sex offender, I'm just praying that that 9-year-old wasn't offended against. Maybe and they, he was trying to say it was a ransom deal, but
well, hopefully he didn't have a ton of time with which to do anything. She was, according to what's come out thus far, basically unharmed, and so for at one time in 100, one of these things turns out
positive, right? Good for
welcome
good
home,
for that.
Charlotte.
Good for that.
Yeah, just glad that situation turned out positive. Jesus, scary stuff. Police are looking for a Houston, Texas driver they say fled from a crash that left a United States Postal Service worker dead. The mail carrier was driving his truck around 3 p.m. Saturday in Houston when police say a driver tried to go around him and clipped him at the back. It pushed the postal truck into the ditch, which then fell on top of the postal worker. Community members rushed over to pull the truck off of the driver. The postal worker was pronounced dead on the way to the hospital, and his identity is not being released as of this recording. The other driver fled in a white Ford Expedition. Witnesses described the man to police and got his license plate number. The recommendation here is to go ahead and turn yourself in because we know who you are. We have witnesses who can put you here and who can identify you. This from police. Police went to the home that the license plate number was registered to, but the owner of the vehicle told them their car had been stolen. The USPS said in a statement that it is deeply saddened by the loss of life suffered in Houston, and their thoughts are with family, friends, and colleagues as of this time. But strange situation coming out of Houston. Of course, with these mail trucks, they're kind of wide open. Yeah. So it just appears that this guy was clipped, and it would have been a minor accident, except for it was right by a ditch. It tips over, and he falls right out of it. Sad situation.
If you hit a mail truck and tip it over.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not like,
I thought I didn't know it got hit.
I ran over a cat.
Yeah, I mean, it rolls into a ditch. It was just really, the timing was just.
I mean, they probably didn't know it was
crazy.
It was a death right away, but they damn sure knew they hit something.
Yeah. So, I don't know if they were drunk, had drugs in the car, or whatever, but they chose to run. Well, warrants, who knows?
Yeah, they'll get them. So, all right, I'll take you to Oklahoma, and this story is kind of really bizarre. Broken Bow Airport is a sparsely populated municipal airport in Oklahoma with no air traffic control. Samantha Hayes, a 27-year-old single mom, was paid to cut the grass around the airfield every so often. It's not totally clear whether Samantha ever saw 70-year-old James Baxter preparing to land his 1972 Bonanza airplane on Friday. According to Baxter, by the time he saw Hayes, it was too late to pull up. Hayes was struck and killed by the wing of the plane while still atop the lawnmower. Authorities say that Hayes was pronounced dead at the scene of the accident due to head injuries. On Facebook, Hayes was remembered as a loving friend and devoted mother to her 3 children. Samantha Hayes was a wonderful, great mom to her 3 babies. She was a single mom who worked hard to give them a safe and loving home. These babies knew they were loved every day, all day, wrote her friend Darlene. God knew his plan for her, and it's hard for us to process because she was still needed here, but his ways are higher than ours, and even when it's hard to understand, she added. Carly Hayes wrote, "You was one of the sweetest people I ever met. I never heard you say a cuss word or talk down on anyone. You was so full of life and had a whole life ahead of you with your precious babies. You got a whole family that's going to make sure them babies are good, I promise." Baxter, the pilot, was not injured. The FAA has no age limits for people to fly planes, though commercial airlines are banned from employing anyone over the age of 65. No charges have been filed against Baxter thus far, and it remains under investigation. So, really bizarre, right?
But that's all VFR. He's not flying with instruments there.
Right.
He's coming into this
airport
How does he not see?
I have no idea. That's not a good day. You're riding a lawnmower.
Oh, horrible.
And
the wing of a
basically
plane.
get your head smashed in by the wing of a plane.
Jesus Christ.
Young mother.
Yep. Yeah. 3 babies.
Young mother out there hustling, riding on a lawnmower.
I mean, he's got it. I don't care what their rules are. There's got to be some degree of negligent homicide or something there. Because you land in a plane, you need to make sure nobody's underneath your fucking wings.
I agree.
Yeah, but it seems like, I don't know how small that airport is, but there's no air traffic control.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I've been to airports like this, doing some investigations, and they'll have 6 or 7 of these little planes they pay to park there, and the shit, there's no kind of tower, no air traffic control, and somebody's got to cut the grass. I get it, and it's grass runways. It's not even cement. Yeah. Still,
and she's got all that lawnmower noise. She's probably got headphones on.
Oh, there's lawnmower, yeah.
So she's not going to hear them unless she, the only way she's going to do anything is if she sees them.
Yeah,
but I don't get how he didn't see her. But you guys remember the story of the woman who cooked the poison mushrooms and had the poison lunch in Australia a few months ago?
Yes.
What are you still pondering?
I know, it'll come back to me in a second.
This will probably ring a bell as we get into it. But almost 3 months after Pastor Ian Wilkinson attended a fatal lunch containing what police suspect was death cap mushrooms, the 16-year-old has been released from the hospital. It took that long for this guy to recover in the hospital. Wilkinson and his wife Heather joined Aaron Patterson and Aaron's former in-laws, Don and Gail Patterson, for that fateful lunch back on July 29th. So this all happened July 29th. The group ate beef Wellington, personal favorite of mine, but the dish is believed to have contained the deadly death cap mushrooms. Don, Gail, and Heather all died within days of eating. Her ex-husband, Simon, who's the son of Don and Gail Patterson, was also invited to the lunch but chose not to attend. In a statement, Ms. Patterson said she too became ill after eating the beef Wellington. Police say Ms. Patterson is a suspect because she cooked the meal, but she has strenuously denied intentionally poisoning her lunch guests and has yet to be charged by police. Mr. Wilkinson was just released from Melbourne's Austin Hospital. He's been there for 2 months. His release should represent an opportunity for detectives that have been investigating the case. Erin Patterson claims she purchased the mushrooms from an Asian grocery store in Melbourne, but told police she could not recall the exact location of that store. A food dehydrator Ms. Patterson had used was apparently thrown out and has not been located. Last month, Ms. Patterson said she was frustrated with the media's impact on her life and felt unfairly portrayed as a villain after the fatal accident. Quote, "The media is making it impossible for me to live in this town. I can't have friends over. The media is at the house where my children are at. The media is at my sister's house, so I can't go there. This is unfair." A forensic toxicologist named Dr. Michael Robertson said that the victims of death cap mushroom poisoning can suffer from unbearable pain for a period of hours, but then they begin to feel better just before they die. So you go through this period of intense pain, and then you think that you've overcome it and you're going to be all right, and then your organs start to shut down. She went on, "I lost my parents-in-law, my children lost their grandparents, and I've been painted as an evil witch," Patterson said. Well, I'd like to grab the brush and just paint for a few additional seconds here. If I were going to poison someone with these mushrooms, the perfect meal to prepare would be beef Wellington. And it would be beef Wellington because the mushrooms are finely chopped, they're cooked in butter and shallots and combined with foie gras in a thick paste that you surround the beef with before encasing everything in phyllo dough. So nobody who's eating that meal lays an eye on the mushrooms before they are eating them. And even once you've cut through the dough and the beef, the finely chopped shrooms just kind of disappear into the foie gras paste. So delicious, but potentially deadly. She doesn't remember where she bought them. She somehow lost her food dehydrator, and she just so happened to pick the perfect recipe to disguise the poison fungus. I would say 3 strikes and you're out.
Yeah, should be guilty. Guilty.
Beef Wellington.
Beef Wellington.
What's for
Beef
dinner?
Wellington, kill her.
Most romantic restaurant in New York.
What is it?
1 if by land.
Tavern on the Green.
1 if by land, 2 if by sea. It is the old home of Aaron Burr, if you remember who Aaron Burr was from history. And their signature meal is their beef Wellington. It just melts in.
Is that
your
inside
mouth.
the city?
Fabulous. Yeah, it's down in the village.
Hopefully, I'll be going
It is
up
a fabulous
there
place.
next week for a meeting.
But they make sure they get good mushrooms in their beef Wellington.
I'm sure they do.
They do
I was
not-
going to say
they
Tavern
did not
on the
hire.
Green.
Yeah. I was going to
Is
say
Tavern on the Green any good?
pizza.
It's kind of a tourist thing. No,
right.
it's not. There's a bunch of great.
I go up there in the next week or two. Might need all your recommendations, and I'm definitely going to have the beef Wellington.
I got plenty for you. Bring your wallet and your credit card.
Shit, I'm not paying for it.
Oh, okay. then have somebody
Even better.
Then have somebody bring their wallet and their credit card.
You can now take off that belt and move freely around the cabin.
It is Mile High Crimes for Wednesday, and we're going to talk about New York once again. A New York man has been ordered detained in Rhode Island on federal drug trafficking charges after Custom and Border Protection agents at T.F. Green International Airport located more than, get this, 30 pounds of cocaine inside his carry-on bag. I hope he had he had that thing, a good strap on that thing when he was carrying it. Alleged to have been in the man's possession while he disembarked in a wheelchair from a direct flight from the Dominican Republic. Richard Pineda, 46, of Bronx, New York, was among passengers on a flight from Santo Domingo. After initial screening upon his arrival in Rhode Island, Pineda was referred for secondary inspection based on a CBP notice that he was linked to an individual who had been arrested at JFK International Airport in New York in 2021 while importing approximately 14.95 kilos of cocaine.
Which is about the same as that because it's
30
pounds is 2.2 something per kilo.
Right. So in that case, the cocaine was actually concealed in a wheelchair. According to the charging documents, a carry-on bag located near Pineda after his arrival at the airport was found to contain 12 rectangular brick-like packages wrapped in plastic and tape, consistent with the manner in which cocaine is packaged. One of the packages was more closely inspected by agents and was found to contain cocaine. Also inside the bag was a Bible that contained a paycheck from a New Jersey company in Pineda's name and a voided check / direct deposit slip from a New York bank that listed Pineda as the payee. So he can't exactly deny it's his bag. That's not my bag.
Never seen it before.
My wife packed that. I don't know. It is alleged that Pineda denied that the carry-on bag belonged to him. He later claimed to agents that he had been given the bag by someone whose name he didn't know, and that he did not know who was going to pick up the package in the United States. So, I mean, come on now. Dude's just going to hand you 30 pounds of cocaine and not tell you his name, and you don't know him?
And you have your Bible and your check stubs.
Yeah, that's not my Bible. That's not my check stubs.
Wait, so how did that work? He went through security in Santo Domingo and got through?
Yeah.
He got through there. But the issue was when he was in the United States, he was flagged because he was closely affiliated with a guy who had been arrested at JFK International Airport a couple of years back with a bunch of cocaine in a wheelchair.
Yeah,
So
you got to figure it out. 15, 30. That's like $500,000 before they step on it and cut it. And you can get 1 kilo of fentanyl and make that $1.5 million. If they get 2 of them arrested out of the 20 they send through, that's a lot of money.
yeah, it is. And look, 30 pounds. That's heavy.
That's a lot.
I mean, put 30 pounds in a
Was it?
backpack.
Did you say Rhode Island? What airport was it that he was going through?
T.F. Green International Airport, which is in Rhode Island, correct?
So that would be the Providence. That flight flew directly from Santo Domingo to Providence? That's just weird.
Probably,
It doesn't really specify if it was a direct
he only
flight, but
had
I
to
would
get on
imagine it was.
But here's the deal: he had to make it through customs at some point.
Well, wasn't that at customs that he got?
Yeah.
It was at the United States side of customs.
Yeah.
Yes.
All right. Well, there you go. Lost plan.
Because that Providence Airport isn't much because if you're going somewhere far, you're going to Logan. You're going to driving up to Boston.
They're trying to figure. I would figure my chances would
Yeah.
be better in Rhode Island than at JFK or somewhere.
Right.
Again.
Well, they, you know how you know cocaine's real? Smell it.
Now you rub it on your guns. They frown upon you rubbing it.
Smell
on
like
your guns.
cocaine.
Yeah. So.
Ooh, another kinky crime.
Kinky crimes for
Wednesday's
Wednesday.
usually the best ones.
And here we go. Police officers, I'll tell you the old saying, they say the badge will get you the P word, but don't let the P word get your badge. This one's kind of reversed. A Texas police dispatcher has been suspended after her husband caught her sexting 7 officers, including 2 with whom she was having affairs. And her boss is investigating whether some of the hanky-panky occurred on duty. Crystal Perez, 38, an overnight dispatcher at the Bexar County Sheriff's Office, and y'all, that's in San Antonio, was placed on unpaid leave after her husband, Giancarlo Perez, discovered steamy messages on her cell phone. Along with Perez, Sergeant Ronaldo Salinas and Deputy Juan Leal, who also have been suspended, face possible termination over the scandal. Their conduct, apparently, according to the investigation, was found to be egregious enough to where we would issue those proposed terminations, Sheriff Salazar said. Another one of the officers, Deputy Jason Jarvis, has been hit with a proposed suspension of 30 days, and his wife, Jessica Jarvis, is divorcing him after she claims he admitted to having an affair with Perez. Jessica Jarvis, his wife, said, "These are people that are supposed to be protecting us, serving and making sure the community is safe, and instead they're busy setting up affairs. They're busy setting up appointments to basically have sexual relations." So Giancarlo Perez said he was the one who discovered the salacious text between his wife and 6 Bexar County deputies and an officer with the City of Converse Police Department. He shared some of the messages she sent to one of the officers and reported that some of the exchanges were too explicit to share. Here we go. "I feel so hot and sexy when I'm in you," the officer wrote Perez. And another one, "I can feel it, all of it, and I love it," the dispatcher replied.
Ooh,
"We need another
kinky.
hotel day," the officer wrote, to which she replied, "Yes."
Oh,
Capital exclamation marks. And the officer also wrote Perez, "I can't wait for us to be naked and us caressing each other and then kissing each other all over." And we have the picture of this lovely lady.
Yeah.
This lady,
Wow.
I use the term lady loosely.
It'd be hard to get out of that text message.
The problem with it is
unscathed.
Yeah, right. The problem is not only is it cheating. The problem is they were doing it while they were on duty, and therein lies the issue. So you back in my day, Sheriff Willie Graves,
officers, dude.
and I think it's Jason Ard's policy too. That back in my day, one rule Willie would fire you for in a heartbeat is if he caught you cheating. If you got busted cheating on your wife, you got fired. It didn't matter who you were. And I think Jason Ard does the same thing.
That's kinky.
That's kinky.
Yeah, this officer that rode her back, I mean, that's an epic. I can't wait for us to be naked and caressing each other and kissing each other all
That's
over.
kind of lame.
Come on, dude. This is supposed to be sexting. I mean, give us a real freaking effort.
Like, I can't wait to
Caressing.
bang your head off the headboard again.
She was
Can't wait to handcuff you.
Exactly.
Thank you.
We needed more of that. I was going to say she gives that cop outside of Nashville a run for her money
right.
in terms of numbers.
It
Because I
might
don't
be
think
besties.
I don't think
7
that,
is a lot.
I don't think that one in Nashville hit 7. I mean, she
Yeah,
made
I
her
don't
way
think it
through
was either.
most of the department, but I think it was
they
a
were-
smaller department.
I think they were having some threesomes and stuff.
Yeah, but
up
the
there,
quality of her communication was
Yeah.
much better. I mean, this is
Well, at least
you don't do all this and then have
She
like
did San Antonio Sheriff's Office and some city cop.
G-rated communication. I mean, that's like you can say that in a Little Mermaid movie. I mean, you got to give us a little bit more than that.
Anyway, there's your sexy crime for Wednesday.
Kinky.
Got kinky crime
Kinky.
for Wednesday. Kind of sexy.
Kind of sexy, too.
It's definitely sexual,
Awkward. Somebody needed to write for those people.
right?
Some banjo.
Banjo time.
A little bit different today. Today we have a dumb public service message.
There you go. Lay it on us.
This is actually true, happening today. Not today while we're recording here on Tuesday, but today as you're hearing this on Wednesday, October 4th, the nationwide emergency phone test is taking place at 2:20 p.m. Eastern Time here in the U.S.
Shit, I'll be sleeping.
FEMA and the FCC will test a nationwide emergency alert Wednesday, October 4th, sending a message to every mobile phone across the country at exactly 2:20 p.m. Eastern. You would think that would be pretty good, a good thing. I mean, it's important to test that
I think
stuff.
I have a
but-
phone call scheduled for that time.
Well,
For real, I
they're
gotta
going to
check
interrupt your phone call. But conspiracy theorists on TikTok and Twitter are convinced that there's something more nefarious behind this plan. In fact, they insist the nationwide test will activate something within the COVID-19 vaccines that could turn people into
Zombies.
walking
Yeah,
zombies.
imagine that.
October 4th, 2023, FEMA activates 5G zombie apocalypse. If you got the clot shot, you are screwed. For those of us who did not bend the knee, real estate is about to become much cheaper. One of the posts. The video shared by that account has been viewed 150,000 times and counting, insisting that 5G cell phone networks were all part of the plot to harm Americans. Over on TikTok, the conspiracy theory is spreading even faster, with some videos falsely claiming the cell phone alert will be, quote, one of the loudest sounds ever recorded in history.
Really?
So you might want to have
Reminded me of Y2K. Yeah.
go with earmuffs, honey. At that time, other TikTokers are making dark predictions using similarly exaggerated claims about the real purpose for the emergency alert test. I share all of those with you.
That's
But the most prevalent one is the zombie walking zombies. So I will be on the lookout for zombies at about that moment.
I'm gonna be on the phone anyway, but I'm gonna make sure I'm strapped when the thing goes off.
Actually, this is a great opportunity for a gag. A bunch of guys get made up as zombies. God. Go to a shopping mall, a Walmart, whatever, right at that time. And I bet that happens. I mean,
I bet it's going to happen now.
There's a good chance that happens.
Send us the TikTok.
I mean, people already have written the Taylor Swift breakup song to Travis Kelce. So, I mean, if that's out there, I think that we're going to see some. I wish I had known about this a month ago. We could have had some fun with this today. Anyway, that's just dumb. There's no criminals necessarily involved, but it's dumb.
Today in true crime history.
There you go.
That's what we want. And a couple of interesting things happened on October 4th. In 1976, the Supreme Court reverses its 1972 ban on the death penalty. That happened in 1976. That was a major deal. And how about 2009, the Mount Vernon murders? On October 4th of 2009, 17-year-old Stephen Spader and 19-year-old Christopher Gribble murdered Kimberly Cates, 42, and severely maimed her 11-year-old daughter Jamie during a home invasion in New Hampshire. Both victims were assaulted with a machete, and Spader admitted to hacking Kimberly Cates to death with 36 blows to her head and torso.
Damn.
Yeah, that was a big deal back in 2000. Well, it's a big deal anytime, but back in October 4th of 2009, obviously the brutality of that murder made national headlines for quite a while.
Crazy.
Yeah, so that was this day in true crime history for October 4th. And that brings us to an end of another episode. Woody Overton,
Yes,
any
it
final
does.
thoughts?
Do rrescue.org.
Yes.
And the egg challenge. We're going to have to put a timeline on this. I'm saying one day next
I
week.
have begun my forehead
You're
treatments.
working on it.
Yeah, so there's a way to firm up your skull in a short period of time to make it more durable.
You've been headbutting brick walls.
So I've been working on that.
So what do y'all
It's easy.
think?
I just watched Giants football games and slam my head against it.
Yeah, that was bad. Now, yeah, so we'll put a cut off of this Friday.
Yeah.
And do it one day next week if you got time to be smashed. And,
Time to be smashed.
I promise you not to make any of them riding.
Or make them hard boiled.
Yeah, or hard boil them or anything like that.
I need an egg tester, don't I? I may have to bring an egg tester.
Your original objection was about salmonella and all that. So if you test them, it really won't be fair.
Yeah, that's right.
That made no sense.
I may have an egg tester.
All right. Hey, I got to say it one more time, people. Thank y'all so much again for taking the time and effort to go and do what you did for us for the People's Choice Podcast and your award.
Oh, yeah.
Man,
Yeah.
love y'all. It's fire.
And look, we do want to mention we have a fire interview with
Oh, God, yes.
with Donald Duck.
Best ever.
Yeah, but not the Donald Duck you would think. Yeah. Detective Donald Duck Sharp, who gained the confession from Robert Willie, who of course was the character that the Dead Man Walking, played by Sean Penn, was based after.
It's not like the movie. That dude's got more bodies on him than anybody I can almost ever imagine. But Donald Duck had a relationship with him, and he goes into it. It really wasn't an interview because I don't think we said two words all the time.
Yeah,
he is a master storyteller.
It was an amazing time and a very rare interview with this guy.
Bloody Angola drops tomorrow.
Today, yes, it'll drop tomorrow, midnight, Thursday at midnight.
Right.
So, yes. All right. Until next time, I'm Jim Chapman.
I'm Woody Overton,
And I'm Mike Agovino,
your host of Real Life, Real Crime Daily. Peace.
Aglets.